Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Welcome back to Cannon Fodder TV. Apparently, the channel for a lot of Arsenal fans all over this one world of ours. We've got the original Godfather himself, and he might just make you an offer you can't refuse. And we've also got brother Isaac just around the corner in Kenya. Just around the corner. Just around the corner. Fellas, Isaac, how are you, my friend?
Doing great, brother Alex. Happy to be back. I think the last time we were on together with the original Godfather, he was in a submarine, and I can see he's back in his house now.
Yeah,
LTL, are you still in the submarine, man?
yeah, I'm still in it. I'm still incognito. I'm currently under the polar ice cap, talking to you.
All right. Well, listen, everyone seems to be quite well. We are waiting for an additional guest to come on. He'll come on as of when he is ready. But I wanted to kick things off with the game against West Ham. Was that the best performance of the season, Isaac? Really? Was it?
For me, I believe is the best of the season so far, followed by the Liverpool one, because we've not been that fluid in any other game. Okay, as much as we were during the West Ham game. Bearing in mind that it is West Ham that has had beaten us twice, that is in the EFL Cup and at home. I believe everything went our way, despite the fact that so many people are not giving credit to Arsenal. What I'm hearing is that West Ham were so poor. They forget that Arsenal made West Ham look that poor because of the way they played and the intensity or the kind of pressing that we performed, and given the fact that we are capitalizing on our set pieces, that is, I believe we are the first. I was reading somewhere that we've scored 16 goals from set pieces. That is fast, followed by Everton, which is 13. So I believe it was a good game. We did great, and if we have those performances throughout the season, I believe something good is coming our way. And I was not just that we had a good performance. I remember even in the Liverpool game we had a good performance. We dominated, but when you look at the ball possession, we were 50-50. But you look at the West Ham game, it's like kind of our possession was 70%. That means we like totally dominated that game. So that was the best of the season so far for me.
Okay. LTL, for you, was it the best performance of the season?
Well, if you do a rewatch of the match for the first 15-20 minutes, we were only getting into our fluency, I think. And it could have gone either way. If they'd have scored first with that little guy up front of theirs, then it could have been a different story. But once the first and second goals went in, I've got to say, West Ham collapsed. West Ham collapsed. Our tails were up, and then I think we had a period in the of about 5-10 minutes where we scored 3 goals. In fact, we scored 4 goals in the last 15 minutes of the half, I think. But sometimes you kind of get that, and it clicks, and it's called a purple patch. And it all worked out, which is good for Arteta. It seems as though we found our sort of mojo. That's the important thing. We weren't as good against Liverpool at the beginning of the second half. We kind of rocked a bit there, and then we found our sort of mojo again. So what you need now is the team to keep finding their vibe and their sort of mojo and keep that going. But hats off to all of the Arsenal players for keeping going And hats off to, I think his name is Nicolas Jover, who's our Spanish set piece master. We've certainly got the set pieces sorted out, and we've finally got a whole load of tall players. You know, if you look back at some of the best Arsenal teams over the years, we've always had a preponderance of big guys. We had the Tony Adams, we had the Stevie Bold, we had the Martin Keown. We've always had big guys, you know, and O'Leary before that. And of course, when the corners come over, everybody blocks the goalkeeper, and it's a lottery. Now, if you keep getting corners, your chances of scoring are going up all the time. I must say, actually, I've said to you before, Alex, I think Bukayo Saka is probably the best homegrown player we've had since Liam Brady. He's just phenomenal, and I do predict, he's 22 now. I predict by the time he's 24, he settles down into more of a midfield role. At the moment, they've got him playing on the right wing as an inverted winger. But I think he's got a lot more. He's very good with his weaker foot, and we found out our mojo. Now, what we need to hope is that we can keep this going for half a season. We found our mojo the first half of last season, and it dribbled away with injuries. Now we're in contention. Now we're in February. So we got February, March, April, May. And if we can keep going at this level, then it's all up for grabs. Man City will drop points. Liverpool will drop points. The boys down the other end of the Seven Sisters Road will drop points. So, you know, it's just a case of not worrying about other people and keeping ourselves going. But yes, if I was manager, I'd have been very happy with the performance. And big shout out to our Gabriel Jesus, who was a bit rocky at the start of the season. It looked like he might be going off to Saudi. And he's a phenomenal player. I love his bravery. If we could inject a little bit of his bravery into Kai Havertz, what a forward we'd have there.
Tell just very quickly before, well, actually, Prosper's just gone off. The set pieces, can that be classified as a plan B? Because we've always been saying, you know, when it comes to the business end of the season, it seems like Mikel Arteta does not have a plan B. But can you classify the set pieces, scoring those goals, as a plan B? Is that a plan B?
Well, I think we found what we might call a plan B against Liverpool. And I'm going to hats off to Arteta and his backroom team, because Liverpool came out in the second half and dominated possession. Fine. They pushed up. They pushed their back line up to near the halfway line. And if you look at the two goals we scored, it wasn't by accident that we had the quick throw out from our goalkeeper and we had a quick through ball and we scored both goals. So actually, that's the famous plan B, is to keep absorbing pressure and then do a breakaway goal. So we do have this very slow build-up, which I've got to say, when I was a season ticket holder, all the people around me used to say, it's boring. It's the same game and it's the same horseshoe shape, and we're hoping to get the through ball. And I do love the counter-attack style football because it opens up the whole pitch. So maybe we've got a plan B and a plan C, because certainly the plan C would be these free kicks and corner kicks and so on. So whether or not people will work us out with that, I don't know, because it is a lottery, but we have a lot of big players, and you're always going to have a chance of getting a headed goal in. But I just can't. I mean, if you notice, Gabriel Jesus is fearless. There was one match there, was it at the end of last season, where he did everything, and he smashed his tooth. And they showed him at the end of the match wandering around the pitch, trying to find the crown or something that had gone flying. You know, I mean, this guy goes in where it hurts. You don't often hear that about Brazilians, but he goes in where it hurts. And phenomenal player, phenomenal player.
Right. Well, so Prosper seems to be having some problems with his Wi-Fi. It keeps coming in and out. Isaac, I want to push you on the point that you made about, in actual fact, that this was probably the best performance of the season. I would tend to disagree. West Ham, 8th place, whereas in the context of before going into the Liverpool game, if we had lost that match, we would have probably been out of the title race. And where are Liverpool? Liverpool are still on top of the Premier League table. So for me, numerically, clean sheet, 6 goals, yes, but against the team who's still on top of the Premier League, for me, beating Liverpool 3-1 has been the game of the season so far. Isaac.
Liverpool, since the start of last season, we've been running rampage. That is at Anfield and at the Emirates. We've become more of a team that Liverpool fears, that is playing against, that is in the league. You remember even last season when we went 2-2, that is at Anfield, was because of our mistakes. That is why we drew at their place. Actually, we would have won that game. This season, we went there and we came back with a 1-1 all draw. And I believe if we had capitalized on our chances, we'll have also won that game. So it is more of a team that we are is no longer like a bogey team to us, no. Since that is last season, and I tend to believe last season we went to Anfield, drew, went to West Ham, again drew, went to Southampton, drew, and that is where we lost the title. The title race was lost there and then. But remember, for us, no, coming back of a Liverpool game, having won, it could have been very easy to lose to a West Ham team, because I tend to believe most of the time we tend to give big performances, and then come next game we did tend to slip up some way. That is, we did sleep against West Ham last season and against Southampton. 2 games that I did not expect us to draw, 2 games that I expected us to pick maximum points. And coming to this season, having lost to West Ham and Fulham, 2 consecutive games, that is in the Premier League, and West Ham having beaten us twice this season, that is in the Prem at home, and also the AFL Cup at their place. And I remember they did beat us. I was making a joke to one of my friends that we lost to West Ham in the EFL Cup with Ben White having a white dye on his hair. We lost the Prem at home with Saka having some brown dye on his hair. But since they went to Dubai and they did a cleanup and everybody came back clean. Seems like there was a cleanup crew in Dubai. Everybody came back clean. And since Dubai, we've won all games in the Prem, except the loss to Liverpool, that is in the FA Cup, which I believe we also did not capitalize in our chances. We are creating for chances. We are creating chances, but initially we were not converting. But right now, Martinelli has picked form. Saka has picked form. We were crying the other time that they were all out of form and they were being played consistently. There was no rotation. And I want to somehow give credit to Arteta because he's somehow known how to manage his players. You can see he's making subs at 60th minute, and like last season, he'll wait up to 75th, 75th minute to make some subs, which were clearly, even to the fans, like this is a sub you should actually make. So for me, I believed West Ham was okay, the perfect game, okay, the best game of the season because of the way we demolished them. Liverpool comes close because it was a very, very important game. If we had lost that Liverpool game, then I believe we'll have been out of the title race.
Yeah.
And having won that game and coming to West Ham, the way we played, that is what makes me say that demolition, that was the best game of the season. Having to see West Ham fans walk out at halftime.
and the stadium half full before half time. Tell, Will of Liverpool, I mean, I didn't see, is it the Gagan press when they're pressing the opposition? I didn't see much of that when they played against us.
Well, I think our best bit really was early on, where we kind of nullified them and they couldn't get the ball off us. But we then got a goal ahead and put it in our own net, unfortunately, and that gave them an impetus. I think Liverpool are going for sort of so many trophies. Sometimes football's a mental game, and I think the fact that they got on top of us for about the first 15 minutes of the second half, and then we came back mentally, we were strong. And I think once we went one ahead, yes, it could have been 2-2, but the final goal, and I must give a shout out to our Belgian forward there. I'm not sure if he's a centre forward or a left winger or an inside forward, but our little Belgian guy there who wears the old goggles and that. I mean, Trossard is some player. Why Arteta has suddenly discovered he should be playing him, I don't know. And what I like about Trossard is what I liked about our team against West Ham is you couldn't pigeonhole the team. You had this guy, you didn't know whether he was going to turn up in midfield, up front, playing off a forward. He was all over. He was everywhere, and so was Havertz. Now, teams playing against Havertz haven't worked him out. They don't know whether he's a forward. If he's 6'4", so is he a centre forward? Is he a deep lying number 9? Or with Bayer Leverkusen, he played on the right of midfield. None of the teams can figure, and he suddenly appears. Now, the background to that is not only do the opposition not know what he is, I don't think we know what he is either. Yeah. And I don't think he knows, because he always reminds me of a fella that somehow a big bloke who got caught up in a game where kids are playing, and he's standing around and he's thinking, what am I doing now? If I really go lay into him, I'm going to hurt somebody. So he seems to stand off people all the time. I don't know whether he's shy. I don't know whether he doesn't want to doesn't want to go in where it hurts, but he kind of tiptoes round. And I often think of if he had the shot that Van Persie had on him, or Podolski, both great left footers like him, but he hasn't got that snap, that shot that flies into the net. But because he's such an enigma, nobody's worked him out, including the opposition, Arteta, his own players, and himself. And if you notice on one of the goals there, he was very close to Saliba when Saliba scored, but he always let somebody else jump in front of him. He said it's as if he's a bit reticent, or if he's hiding from the FBI or something, and he'd rather somebody else went ahead of him. It's the CIA after him or something. I don't know.
I'll tell you what, he's hiding from the original Godfather. That's what it is still.
To make him an offer. Even his former coach at Leverkusen once said that he could play multiple positions. And he actually said he didn't know, the player himself didn't know his best position. And I remember there's a time he admitted he didn't know his best position, that he can play wherever he's told to play. So, and one thing I realized is that most of us kept complaining. Okay, personally, sometimes I complain because he's picked over Trossard so many times. Even when you say this game Trossard deserves to play, he's picked over Trossard. And over here, we've nicknamed him Ateta's son. So we say, is Ateta's son in the team? Yes, he is, because he's like his child. He's the one who bought him. And and you realize perhaps Ateta has seen his value in the team, but you realize Havertz makes some tackles where if it is any other player, it is a definite yellow card. But he does not get a yellow card. And I don't know why.
Why is that?
I don't know why. I don't know why. If it was Saliba or Saka or anybody else making those cheeky tackles, those are yellow cards. But for him to get a yellow card is very rare. And I don't know if that is why Arteta is using him, because it's more of he's like a cheeky player. You don't know what he does. He's finding himself in Wonderland, that is in spaces where nobody else is. Wonderland. And then you don't know what he's going to do next. He has the ball, clear chance, does not score. Has the ball, very tight angle, scores. So he is very, very unpredictable. You cannot predict what he's doing, when and how. And actually, I cannot figure him out.
Well, didn't Germany play him at left back for their last two games? You know, I mean, nobody knows where he doesn't know. You know, and because I think his tackles look a bit. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. And so the ref thinks, oh, fair enough, you didn't mean it, because he looks as though he doesn't know who got him on this pitch. What am I here for? I'm just trying to find a way out. Oh, I'll jump here. Oh, we scored. It doesn't he? He looks totally puzzled. I don't know if he's from Planet 9 or something. I'm really as if he's just flown in and he's no idea what this game is. But he's got all the physical attributes. He's big, he's strong, got a good first touch, but he looks puzzled by it all.
Yeah. Well, not part of the topics for this evening. Emre Smith Rowe didn't make it into even on the bench, and I heard that he sustained an ankle injury or an ankle issue. Isaac, what are we going to do with Emre Smith Rowe? Just when you thought that he was getting back to his best, he sustains another injury. Isaac, what are we going to do with Emre?
I feel sorry for the young lad, because he's tried so much to get back into the team, and every time he gets playtime, the next time you hear of him, he's injured, and he's become more of our mini Wilshere. We loved Wilshere so much, but he was so injury prone, and that is what is happening with Emil. And I remember the other time I had stats on because of the way the game has evolved, players are injured more often than initially, because of the way this sport has evolved, the tackles, the kind of trainings you're doing, that the body is even straining more than before when elite players were playing. I feel really sorry for this young lad, because he deserves the best. He deserves to be in the team sheet or even on the bench to come and change a game somehow, but he can't catch a break.
Yeah.
And it is quite unfortunate. I'll really wish that he recovers quickly so that we have him back, because he's a homegrown player whom we have all the respect for and we have pride in. I remember the last season when we were all singing Emile Smith and Saka, and they were our saviors. They could drive. He could drive the ball forward, and I remember he keeps the ball tight to himself. He has those qualities, and he's a player we really need.
Yeah. And so for you, are we getting to that point where we have to maybe consider selling Emre Smith Rowe? I don't know, Del. I don't know.
I do think so. I think the club will do that. It's a real shame. I mean, I think one of the greatest players we've had that never had the career he should have had was Abu Diaby, who the manager he had before, I can't remember the name of the club, said that Diaby was like a man made of matchsticks held together by blue tack, you know. And when you see some um, videos of Diaby playing at his best, he was phenomenal. And Emile Smith Rowe looks very promising, but he just cannot stay fit. And if you compare him now to Bukayo Saka, who's about maybe he's even younger. Saka's 22.
I think between them.
Yeah, and if you look at Saka, he's not a tall guy, but he's what we call all there, isn't he? He's muscular. He's got a body that, I mean, he's only missed one game in the last 2 seasons, I think. You know, he's a guy that his body's just perfect for football. And unfortunately, some people's body just isn't. It's a real shame because Emile Smith Rowe loves the club and all of that. But you sometimes get players like that. They just can't. Or you could have do you remember when we had Robin Van Persie? All those years that he couldn't get fit and the club stuck with him. He had one great season and then went off to Man United and didn't get injured for them either, you know. So it is a strange one. I remember Arsenal relayed some of their training pictures because they were worried that maybe the surface or the undersurface was too hard and players were getting all these injuries. Obviously, they've got top coaches now who are checking strength and conditioning and so on. In fact, you know what? Talking about strength and conditioning, even small little hurling clubs in the west of Ireland, have strength and conditioning coaches. So it's real sports science these days, you know, and you can be sure that the club are very aware of Emile Smith Rowe, and they're going to have to project forward and say, is his body ever going to cope with the rigors of both training? Because from what I hear, Arteta makes them train hard, you know. Do you know, I heard an interesting one the other day. The guy that's managing Everton refuses to allow players to wear woolly hats and cagoules in training during the winter months. And they say, why is that? He said, well, you can't go on the pitch on a Saturday afternoon in a bobble hat and a cagoule. So why should you be allowed to train like that?
Anyway, talking about injuries, all this without Jesus the Saviour and the man who loves the party, Thomas Partey. You know, we ask questions of certain players who cannot stay injury free, but those last few games have been without. Actually, the majority of the season has been vastly without Thomas Partey, Isaac, and a recent Gabriel Jesus. Do we need them? Do we need them until the end of the season? We don't need them, do we, Isaac? No.
It is. We do need them. We need them. We've done okay without them, but I believe there are games where we will really, really, really need them, because you look at the profile of Jesus and Havertz. They are two different profiles.
Yeah.
One sometimes seems like a mini Ozil, and the other one is a hard worker. You see, when you look at Havertz, seems like he's not even interested in playing that football, and he's on the pitch. But when you look at Jesus, he's everywhere. You look at his heat map during a game, is everywhere you want him. He's defending, he's in the midfield, he's in the attacking position. He's a player you really want in some games where you find it hard to break down your positions. Sure, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm going to ask you a question. Who would you rather have, Darwin Nunez or Gabriel Jesus?
You didn't give me a third option. Hoyland. I would have taken Hoyland over the two of them.
Okay.
You see the way I'm dodging your questions.
Don't worry, you don't have to answer. Don't worry, carry on.
Darwin Núñez. I will analyze Darwin Núñez as someone who works hard.
Yeah.
But most of the time, he's very hardworking and no end product. Very hardworking is everywhere, but there's no end product.
He scored more goals than Gabriel Jesus this season, and has more assists.
Because and he has played in more games than Jesus.
Okay, right. Well, yeah. It's got to be available.
So
injury-free.
If you see, my friend in United keeps telling me that if you had Hoyland in your team, I believe he will have been the best or the top scorer this season. Because the way that guy positions himself, and he's just 24 years, the way he receives the ball and turns quickly, but he has no supply. But the kind of supply we have at Arsenal, he'll have been the top scorer. Because you look at Haaland, he's the top scorer because of the supply he gets at City. And we don't have, like a striker. We have Jesus, who's not like a striker. He admits himself that his best quality is not scoring. He has other qualities. You have Havertz, who's not interested in football, and he's a football player. but they are scoring. Okay, if you had even Tony in the team, he could have had more goals, I believe, than it could have been even will have had more goals even than Haaland. I want to believe so because of the kind of supply we have. He will have gotten at Arsenal. So Jesus injured, Partey injured. We will need them at some point. Like we are going to Etihad, where if you have Partey fit, I want to see a Partey, Rice, and Odegaard midfield, because you have Jorginho. If you have Jorginho in that midfield, Jorginho knows how to calm down the tempo, but Man City know how to just calm down, calm the tempo, and all of a sudden they switch. They switch, and then all of a sudden it is quick, and Jorginho cannot do quick. But if you have Partey and you have Rice in that midfield, then you have a dynamite midfield. You have someone who controls the ball. The both of them can cool down the tempo, and Havertz can progress the ball because he has ball progression ability. So we will really need them at some point. Actually, I believe specifically going to the Etihad, because I believe if there is a team Man City are really working hard to beat this season, is Arsenal, because of the way we defeated them at the Emirates. Remember, this season we've beaten them twice. That is in the Community Shield through penalties and at the Emirates, and both those goals, both in the Community Shield, it was a deflected goal. That is a Trossard deflected, and in the Prem was Martinelli deflected ball. So those two were deflection.
Yeah.
And I believe if there's a team Man City are really want to beat this season, is Arsenal, because of the way we have beaten them. Like I'll say, if there's a team we wanted to beat this season, we wanted really to beat West Ham by all means, because they had beaten us twice.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Good point. Eltel, for you, Jesus the Savior and Thomas Partey. Your thoughts, Del.
Well, we all know that Thomas Partey only got injured for one game for Atletico Madrid in 2 or 3 years, and suddenly he comes to the EPL and gets injured. I think his days at Arsenal are numbered. I think his body just can't cope with it, and I am worried about Jesus because it's his knee again. It's the same thing all the time, and he does. I love his work rate. It reminds you of Ian Wright a bit. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. He twists and he turns. So if we've got these players that you can't play week in and week out, unlike Bukayo Saka, who you can play week in and week out, I think we've got to keep this rotation going. They brought Jorginho in, and he did a wonderful job. Then they rested him. I think they've got to keep doing that, because if you think about it, there's 11 players of your team on the pitch, but there's a few of them that don't do a lot of running, and 3 of them would be the goalkeeper and usually the 2 centre backs. So they aren't doing a lot of running. So you're only talking about 8 outfield players that are going to be tearing around a lot. You often have. We seem to, luckily, I don't want to put the sort of mockers on it, but we've got people like Odegaard and Saka that seem to be able to play most weeks and get very few injuries. We've got Rice, who's a pretty solid guy. But if we've got players that look a bit injury prone, like Jesus, I think we're going to have to rotate. Not only, rotate in terms of a spot in the team, but I did love the bit where I was watching the match the other day and suddenly Martinelli turned up on the right wing, on the opposite wing. And I thought that must be a nightmare for a defence that's been drilled in get tight to Martinelli with your fullback and your right fullback and your right winger. And suddenly he's moved over there. And Trossard was minister without portfolio too. So, I mean, Arteta's he's getting this thing now where he tried at the start of the season to make us unpredictable. And I think he seems to have hit on the idea of having these roving forwards so that nobody knows where they're going to turn up, least of all our big 6'4" German guy, Havertz, who could be here, he can be there. He's a confounded nuisance because nobody knows where he's going to be. And I was thinking about football. I think the modern day game is not just about there being fit physically, but I think mentally it's such a complex game. We've all heard of the way Guardiola draws out his training pitches with different size boxes, and only so many players are allowed in each box and so on. Now they never talk about that on the telly, but it's certainly part of the tactics. And I think you've got to be a pretty smart cookie to bear in mind all those things that you're told about where to be. And if a player comes into your little box, your little area, then you've got to vacate it. You've got to know where to go. And I think that's the way soccer's going. That it's very much a game where if you're not an intelligent guy, as well as being very skillful and physically capable, then at elite level, you aren't going to do any good.
Okay, let's go into the live chat anyway for the first time. I've got John Nagisa Gula says, now you're going to believe we're going to win the league. Are we winning the league, Isaac? Are we?
Don't let them hear you.
Let's go into the next comment. Even the Gooners best performance of the season, and the moderator for the show is Ashley, who says, "Hey up Gooners." Who else do we have here? That was the other thing I wanted to say, actually. He says, nice to see some of the French players get a chance, and how well did they look when ready? Got a few minutes, didn't he? The youngster. He looked pretty good. He looked very, very good. We've got to Gunnar Matters, who says, hey, Gunners, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pound hammer. All right, very good. Emerson, good evening. Even though form is that we went back in basics, and credit goes to our set piece coach, as the trip to Dubai has given us all the confidence, and we must sustain it till the end of the season. Remember, injuries, suspensions are still going to come into that. Champions League, we're still in that. There's still a long way to go. 13 games to go, gentlemen. 12, 13, 14 games.
Yeah. But at least we've jettisoned, whether it's a good idea or not, we've jettisoned the League Cup to West Ham, and we got out the FA Cup as well. And I know that Uncle Stan will be saying, Arteta, top four. You have to get in top four. So, Arteta is prioritising it. That's the key. Keep the money rolling in. I don't know, on the sideline, I switched on the telly earlier on, and they showed this Super Bowl, and Paul McCartney paid so many hundreds of thousands for a box to watch the match, and Taylor Swift was there, and the amount of money that there is in American sport, where Uncle Stan is coming from. He can see soccer being the goose that laid the golden egg on this side of the Atlantic.
Just never know. Money talks. And we're going to the last segment. We're playing against Burnley. Vincent Kompany, a man under pressure. Is this a potential banana skin game against Burnley, Isaac? Or am I just clutching at straws here?
No, it's not a banana skin. This is a kind of game we are supposed to win because of the system that Vincent plays. He's playing a very attacking football, a very open system. And that is where we thrive. Yeah. We thrive in spaces. Yeah. So if he's going to play those spaces, he's going to get a West Ham smash. Because so many teams this season are playing low blocks against Arsenal. And if he dares play that open system, he's going to get some beating of a lifetime. He has young players who have no experience in the Prem. That is how he played in the Championship, the quick and attacking football. But that is not how you play some big teams in the Prem. You have no experience, and you are so open. You're gonna get beat if you play that way. And I'm surprised that Liverpool did not score 5. They were so wasteful. They did not score 5.
Yeah.
And they also gave a goal away. I remember we also gave a goal away in the first leg. But it's towards the end of the game, we gave a goal away. And but we were so poor towards the end of the first leg. But we won that game. If we play like we played West Ham at Burnley, then I believe 6 is minimum. Could go up to 8, though we have not scored 8 in any other game. Could go up to 8. But bearing in mind that Arteta will also be thinking of the Porto game, he might have 3 or 4 goals and then rest his players.
Yeah. Actually, you know what, Isaac? Now that you mentioned that, when I was doing the instant post-game reaction after the game against West Ham, Arteta, the people who came in live chat was complaining that Arteta made those substitutions, and they were saying that why did he have to put on Eddie Nketiah? I'm thinking, no, the game's won. You need to protect the players. What is wrong with bringing on
At
some more
halftime,
players?
the game was won at halftime. So if he had his subs immediately in the second half, I will not have complained because he's protecting his players.
Absolutely.
You'll see, you have won this game. The only thing these guys want is to frustrate and make some silly tackles, and which could be so dangerous to your players. See, when he made those subs, and I still saw Odegaard on, and before he took off Saka, I was like, okay, Saka is still on, Odegaard is still on. These are guys we need to protect because like Saka takes a lot of tackles, and is himself keeps saying that the referees should protect him. If you've won at halftime, then protect him yourself.
Yeah. I didn't see anything wrong with the substitutions that Arteta made. The game was won. And if they came back, if West Ham came back and beat Arsenal at 6-0 down, then we would have had a discussion. But for me, like you said, he was protecting players. They'll tell. Surely he made the right decisions with the substitution.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. I mean, there was the famous one where we were winning away up at Newcastle 4-0, and then it all fell apart in the second half, and it ended up a 4-4 draw. But so when we went in 4 up, I thought, great, but don't do a Newcastle. But once the fifth goal went in, then absolutely start deputising them and resting them and so on. I think this Burnley match, the players have got no excuse. If they get a goal ahead, then it's going to be an Arsenal win. So work hard, contain. Burnley will come out, out of the traps, roaring, and do our usual game, contain, pass the ball, and then if you can get a goal ahead, I think the match should run out with Arsenal easy winners. But there's no easy match if you're mentally relaxed. Some of the best matches we've ever played have been when nobody fancied us. Yeah, I'd turn your attention to the 3 finals in the late 70s. And the first one was against Ipswich, totally unfancied Ipswich. The second one was against Man United. Everybody fancied them. And the third one was against second division West Ham. What do we do? We go and beat Man United in one of the greatest finals of all time, and then lose the one before and the one after to very unfancied teams. So I think you've got to get your mental attitude right. Just a quick thing, I've got all my mates that go to away games dislike Burnley intensely. Nothing to do with the Burnley team, but the facilities there are pretty awful. And they're only too glad when they're on the coach back home.
Wow. All right. Anyway, we've come to an end. And best performance of the season. I'm still not convinced, Isaac, man. That 3-1 against Liverpool. I know Mo Salah wasn't there. Liverpool also didn't have the youngster. I think his father passed away 2 days before the match. But I'm liking that performance. The heebie-jeebies against Liverpool, we've overcome that. But hey. Anyway, guys, thank you for your performance. Both of you scored a brace, so on that note, no hat tricks. Nobody scored a hat trick. No hat tricks on a Monday show, but we will be back.
I'm claiming man of the match.
All right, okay, all right. Elto, thank you. The original Godfather, you will see him again sometime this week. I'm not sure when. And of course, Brother Isaac. Also, you might see Brother Isaac make a return as well. It could be on the Easy Talk this Friday. Anyhow, this over here, this Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over